Howdy, my name is Callum, also known as Northern Dice, and today we are going to be checking out The Fog, Escape from Paradise by Xolox Games. This is a 1 to 4 player action point movement tactical strategic game, a race to get off the beach and onto these boats, scoring the most points by placing appropriately before the fog rolls in and swallows up your islanders. Here I've got The Fog, Escape from Paradise, set up for a 2/4 player game. We're playing it at 2, so we only need 2 boards. We have pink and black and blue and yellow as separate boards. Everyone has got everything they need, and setup's incredibly simple. You just lay out all these tokens and take it in turn order, set up on the fog track board, which is over here, in terms of top to bottom, who gets to pick what, so yellow, pink, blue, black. The cube starts up here, and every time it hits one of these greens, the fog moves up. Now it's on a track over here, and it starts on 10. Or 9 in the instance of 2 or 4 player, and every single time that it goes through to one of these green, it moves along the track until it gets to 6, at which point the fog will actually start advancing. Now the first half of the game is entirely about picking which people you choose, and every single person is unique in both their colour, in their what they look like and their ability, and that will determine who you want to choose first. Of course you want to pick people closest to the front because they're less likely to get taken and swallowed by the fog, but people at the back aren't to be forgotten either because everyone is worth points at the end of the game. The aim is to move your people, in this instance pink and black, to the ships and into the seats. Now you're going to get more points if you get them into the correct coloured ship. You're also going to get more points if you get them into the correct seat for that character. In this instance, if we have this yellow character, it is a red young girl in the yellow disc. So we want the red ship and the young girl symbol, and we'd be earning points for that. Now when you place someone in a ship, you earn points immediately and you take the top token available, only if it is the correct seat. And then afterwards you will also earn points based at the end of the game if they're in the right colour and if they're the right person. You earn 4 points for the right colour and you would earn respective points along these tracks for the right person. It is a race to fill up the seats, and if there aren't enough seats in the ship, you have got a 3-seater here, a 2-seater here and a 3-seater there, just for randoms, and of course they're worth 3 points if they're the right colour. But you are wanting to manipulate the board as best you can to move your characters from bottom to top to get onto the ships. Every single turn you will get 7 action points in this instance with a 2-player game. There are more action points available in other player accounts, and you are aiming to use those 7 points to the best of your advantage to get people to move up. And your abilities are all stated here. So you're able to move in any one direction for 1 AP, you're able to swap places with someone for 3 AP, if you have got a specific symbol on your character board, you're able to do that for a discount, so they're like a specialist in that. So as example, this blue lady is a specialist in climbing over obstacles, whereas this guy is a specialist in he gets 1 extra movement once you've finished fully moving him. I'm not going to go through everyone's specifics, but I will quickly go through the actions you can do. So you are able to push up to 2 other people and yourself to move forward 1. You're able to squeeze through 2 obstacles or an obstacle and a person to get to a diagonal space. You're able to squeeze or go over mountains at a discount if you have got the 3 symbol. You're able to jump over people. You are able to climb terrain and get to specific spots otherwise. And you are able to, as I said, if you've got the +1, move an extra 1 at the end of your movement. The moment you get into the water, those rules don't account anymore. Walking through water is very tricky. If you've ever been to the beach, you'll know this, so it is all about just making that progress. You are not allowed to end your turn on top of anybody else or even be on top of anyone else's seat, symbol, space whilst on the beach. But the moment you're in the water, you can climb over people in the same when you're on the docks, the docks having 3 specific spots. The seats are specific to people and you can move across them, but you won't earn points once you're sat, you're done. If you move again, then you're still earning the points you've earned already. And that's more about making sure that you're on the right side, because if this girl goes to this seat, and then you've got, let's find one, her, she can't get to there because she's there, so she'd have to move for her to move. Now you're going to want to be able to manipulate that the best you can in order to stop people from doing things, and the best way to do that is to make sure that during setup you use the control you've got to pick people that aren't too close to obstacles. Every single row has got a specific amount of obstacles and blank spaces that they'll need in setup, but realistically it's going to be more about the actual situational context as opposed to making sure you pick a specific person because you know they worked well. A lot of this is determined in setup and choice. After that you are looking at how well you can best manipulate the game to stop other people from escaping the fog and make sure that you can. Because as much as you are all trying to get away from the fog, you're going to earn a lot more points if they aren't earning points. And that is the game of The Fog in a nutshell. The Fog Escape from Paradise Island boasts tactics as its absolute staple element. Every single part of this is about your tactical choices, and there is no chaos in this. The setup can be somewhat chaotic in that you can't really always dictate where things go, and because it is a case of how many people are going to be in each row is predetermined by how many blank spaces and how many obstacles you've got, that's the only thing you really can't control. Scoring will be just placed as it needs to be, but beyond that, everything is about tactics and your choices and how you use those 7 movement points to move your people from the back to the front, get them in the ships, sail them off, and win the game. And it boasts that rightfully so, because it is an absolute triumph of tactical choice. I've really loved getting my teeth into this and being able to make those tactical choices, make those really difficult decisions, and also really vicious choices as well, which I'll get into when we talk about player interaction. But sometimes this game can be quite nasty, and I love it. Everything about this screams player choice, and it's all about that movement and who you choose to move when. Because you only get 7 movement points, and if someone is fully centred around and they cannot be moved because they are fully surrounded, they ain't moving. And it's about how you choose to move the other people you can. Because what got us the most is knowing that in the turn order, sometimes you not get 2 turns, but because the turn order rotates using the track, it goes yellow, pink, blue, black, black, yellow, pink, blue, blue, black, yellow, pink, pink, blue, black, yellow, yellow. So everyone will get a turn in sequence with itself. So effectively for one small round of a whole round, you might get 14 AP, which, if you view it that way, can be quite advantageous in terms of when you choose to do things. But the thing to remember is that as these things happen and things move, the fog begins to roll over. Now that doesn't happen until you get to the 6th of, well, if you're descending from 9 to 0, the 6th round, or in 10 to 0 again, the 6th round, with some rounds having bigger jumps because the fog rolls in faster. Making sure you're choosing the right people at the right times means that you are going to have to make those hard decisions in terms of who you're getting rid of. And that can quite often be based on who's closest to the front, but can also be based on what free seating is available. Because if there's big scoring available for the blue boat, you don't want to be messing about with any blue fellas inside your discs at the back. In the same way, if there is only 1 blue space available and you know you can claim it if you're quick, it's always worth cashing in those points and sacrificing those people to be swallowed by the fog just for the greater good of your winning. There is a caveat with that though. If you do run a game where you are trying your hardest to save everybody, I will outright say to you, you are going to score badly. We've played it like that, and we've done it so that we only lost 1 or 2 people between us, and you know, it's a lovely sentiment that in this fictional world we saved the day, we got everybody onto those ships and off the island to sail off to somewhere new. But our scores were awful, absolutely terrible, because we were focused more on just filling the ships as opposed to tactically choosing those ships and being a little bit spiteful. Which brings me on to that player interaction. This game can be very nasty. There is one movement ability that just ruins the game for some people, and it's beautiful. Swap. Being able to swap places with someone is incredible, because if you know that in the next turn the fog is going to sweep in and take one of your islanders, but there's a slower looking chap in front of you, swapping places with that bloke means that he's gone, you survive a bit longer, you've reduced the number of points they'll get, you might have increased the number of points you get. Because it's worth remembering that the scoring doesn't just add up with what's here, you lose points based on what's here. So as much as in our game where we didn't lose anybody, or we lost 1 or 2, we didn't lose any big points, we also didn't gain any either. There's also that push ability as well, and it's quite nasty in terms of your choice of placement, because you could intentionally block people off to stop them from moving, to force them to move your people. A lot of this is about the race, and sometimes it is that big scramble. You imagine it is a big fog descending along a beach, driving you towards the ocean. People aren't going to form an orderly queue, and that's very much what this game is centred on, and it drives that incredibly well with the player interaction and how nasty you can get. Because in a life or death situation, if it's you or them, you know full well that they would pick, well, you would pick you, they would pick them. So, again, player interaction executed to a T, and so incredibly engaging and fun. Theme-wise, I like it. It's quite fantastical. You're on a wonderful island, then a fog just randomly rocks up. It's very Stephen King. But, I mean, there is literally no other threat other than the fog. The biggest threat for you is the other players and how they're going to react to you getting closer to the boat than they are. That's what's really dangerous. I think everything is executed beautifully. I love the artwork. It's very, very tropical island, little paradise until the big greeny, grey fog rocks up. The discs are really well made for a prototype. I was really impressed by all the components. It feels incredibly well polished. I have read in the little supplement that they included with the preview copy that they are looking at ways to amend this for players who are colourblind, which I think is fantastic. Always one of my big things. Being partially sighted myself, I think it's so important. With that as well, the actual bits in there also state that it's going to be a 5-6 player game by the end with the premium components, but I think what you see is what you get, and I think what you get is an absolutely fantastically produced bit of kit. Really, really lovely game that is really, really robust. Everything just feels so tactile. I love just little details, like the rings have got just a little bit of a pattern on them, and I think it's wonderful. These little components for the obstacles I think are superb. It does come with cardboard ones. I'm not sure whether they are going to be based on what tiering you choose, but even the cardboard ones, really well illustrated. It doesn't matter what the actual obstacle is, it just matters that there is an obstacle. So I think just having different types is quite a nice little aesthetic bonus as well. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how this has been fully produced, and I think visually on the table it looks really beautiful. I mean, even visually it looks like a puzzly, tactical kind of game. Very much a mind person's game, a mind gamer's game, if you will. Complexity-wise is a bit of an odd one, because this is one of those games that is really easy to grasp but very hard to master. And it's not because the game itself is hard to master, it's because other people are hard to master. You don't know how Billy is going to choose to manipulate his people to best get them to the boat. You don't know how ruthless Sarah's going to be when she's playing. And my goodness, my partner, when she plays, she is going to put your head in the sand, push you down so she can make sure she gets on the boat. I think that's what makes this game so replayable as well, because you're going to have a different experience based on who you're playing with. And if you have that one person who always plays the game and is always that guy who is quite ruthless, you know how they're going to play it. So if they do something different, you're going to be quite on your toes. The actual gameplay itself does run a very similar style each time. I know that again, in the actual Kickstarter final product, there is going to be a smaller beach and a larger beach option, which will make it quite diverse. I think there's also going to be some cards involved for player abilities. I'm not sure, I haven't read too much into that, but that makes me very excited as well. Because just as a base game, I think this is fantastic. A real get your teeth into and think about it game. So having that extra layer available makes it all the more exciting as well. So yeah, complexity wise, I'd definitely say it's very easy to grasp. Possibly even older children could possibly even grasp it. But I think it's just that knowing what your best option is going to be based on either experience with other games or experience with this game, which is something that you'll just gradually gain as you go anyway. One little thing on the little replayability bit I do just want to mention is these wonderful little egg timers. So these are an extra inside of this. They aren't needed for the game, but my goodness are they fantastic, because you can set it to be a timed game. Not timed as in everyone gets a certain amount, but every single time it's your turn, you flip one of these, you have 1 minute to make all your decisions. Make it a real life situation. You've got 1 minute to make all of your 7 moves, which you can probably do in 15 if you're very, very quick, but it'll remove that analysis paralysis and make it a more, not real-time game, but almost you're running on that realism of the fog is coming in. It ain't waiting for you to take your turn. It's coming. So after this minute, we are going to be moving that cube, and any action points you ain't used are gone. And I think that's really wonderful in terms of really driving people to make those rash decisions, those brash, crazy decisions that are probably going to get them killed, but also makes it quite thematic in that it's an impending coming. The fog is coming. You need to move. A little extra, but I think just so wonderful. So who would I recommend this for? Well, it's an odd one, because there's a lot of player interaction, but it's incredibly thinker and cruncher and get your teeth into, plan tactically and make your decisions. But it's not a war game. There's a lot of different elements in this that are executed really well that would appeal to a lot of people. But inevitably I want to make a sort of a connection with this game to make it sound like it's a chess-esque thing. But it's not chess, because you've not got all of the actual solved mathematical problem elements to it. It's just a big tactical choice, get to the other side and be a bit ruthless with other people sort of game. I think if you are really into those tactical games, or you want something where you can be a little bit spiteful whilst also making quite clever plays, some really big plans, and being able to use action points to move accordingly, gradually, really, really strategically, if you will, this is probably one that's definitely going to be for you. There's no grand moment of betrayal apart from when the fog's coming in, and the scoring is incredibly high, so you will know when you are doing well. But that's never something to deter you from not playing, because even when you can see someone has got a massive stack of these preparation tokens ahead, they've got plenty of people in the front, there's nothing to stop you from being just that little bit mean and just slowing them down a little bit by manipulating where they're sat, especially as the fog's rocking up. I do think this is a really wonderful game, and I would recommend it to a lot of people, but I think it's one that people who really like to think about what they're doing, plan their actions, and make those really clever plays will appreciate more than anybody. So final thoughts. I think The Fog, Escape from Paradise, is wonderful. I think it's executed excellently, really superb levels of player interaction throughout. The actual production quality is superb, even as a prototype. I really enjoyed the actual little bits of I'm getting ahead, so you can see other people start to plan on how they're going to push ahead of you. It makes it that real scramble to the finish. The longest part of the game is surprisingly choosing which people you're going to get, and that's where the most of the mind games come in. And it's also where these times come in best, because then you can really push people along and say, we need to be picking up the pace, pick your people, let's get moving. A really, really excellent game by Xolox, I think. Xolox? XOLOX games that I've really enjoyed playing, and it is one that I would genuinely recommend checking out on Kickstarter. As always, thank you ever so much for sticking around for this preview. I've really enjoyed checking this game out, and I hope you do when you go onto Kickstarter as well. Until next time, I'll catch you later.